what do people tell you when you go talk to people on the streets here, LA, Austin, New York, whatever it is? Why is it that they don't want help? When you ask them, why don't you do this? What is it that they're telling you about why they don't want to go to housing?
So I've talked to, I don't know, a couple of thousand homeless people on the street, probably more because I've talked to hundreds in Texas and in Colorado now, et cetera, in Oregon. They all want two things. Almost, they have a laundry list of things that they want or that they need. One of the main things is they want to get off the drugs. That's so the people that say that there's people that don't want to get off drugs, that's a misnomer. They do, but let me explain, okay? And they also want to get housing. And let me explain that too. They want those two things, but they want to do those things on their own terms. They don't want anyone telling them, this is what you have to do. This is where you have to go. These are the rules. This is the drug you have to take to get you off of the drug that you're on. This is how long you have to stay here. This is how much belongings you can bring with you. Nobody wants them to abide by those rules. So they only want to do it on their own terms. And for someone struggling with addiction, even though they'll tell you that they want to get off drugs, that usually doesn't mean today. Usually it doesn't mean that. Usually it means like, yeah, that's a vision I have for me in the future, but not today, man. I think I'm going to keep using. So if you would give them a house or an apartment, and then you say, okay, this is your apartment on your terms. Here you go. But we also need you to stop doing drugs on your terms. When you're ready, they'll be like, cool. Let me get back to you on my terms. I'll be ready soon. That soon turns into a week, month, a year, and never, because that's the nature of addiction. It is a disease of the brain, of the mind, that implants itself in your basic survival instincts and doesn't give you a choice after a while. You don't have a choice. You have to use. And the only way to mitigate that is to stop. But if we let someone who's struggling with addiction manage everything on their own terms, they're never going to stop. Never. We have to be real and honest about that. And once we're real and honest about that, and understand that 85% of the people that we're encountering on the street right now are struggling with addiction, maybe that will help us rethink our approach.
That is it's so powerful to hear that, because most people just want to assume if we give the resources to everybody on the street, they will A, accept it, and B, they'll run with it and become better people. And I'm sure that there are people on the streets that just need a little bit of a kick in the rear end. I've met several people, and you're exactly one of them. We have the resources available, and we look at them 2 years down the line, and we can't believe that's the same person that I ran into back then.
That's right.
Like, they took the initiative and said, whatever was the motivation, maybe they had kids, or maybe they just hit rock bottom and there was nowhere else to go but up. They were able to say, I'm ready to make this change. They committed to it. They did the hard work that was necessary. They got support from the state in terms of housing and financing. And then now they're productive members of society again. And those are the ones we really want to get out there, so that you could do it.
The big change now, though, is fentanyl.
Yeah.
I can't stress enough, guys, how much fentanyl has changed the game. There's no more aha moment for people, man. There's no more. You got to use every 2 hours. There's no more like, oh man, I'm going to get clean today. Oh, but let me just, every 2 hours, you got to stop and dose. You got to use every 2 hours. It's just, there's no more moment of clarity that alcoholics used to get. You hear that term, as alcoholics say, I had a moment of clarity. That doesn't happen with fent. I'm sorry, it doesn't. So, we have a choice with people on the street. So we're talking about the subset of people on the street that we see living in tents and unsheltered on the street that are struggling with fentanyl addiction. Just that subset of people, which is about, out of the 4,500 that are unsheltered on the street in San Francisco, it's about 4,450 of them.
Oh,
okay. We have to start thinking about intervention, because if they're never going to be ready, so we either have to intervene, and that means law enforcement to help us with that, or they're going to die. And we just have to decide as human beings, as a society, as a community, are we comfortable with all those deaths on our head? Because right now, since 2020, it's been 3,000 dead people in San Francisco. Your brothers, your sisters, your fathers, your mothers, your cousins, your friends, dead.
That is nuts.
If we had that many deaths from COVID or from gun violence or from car accidents, do you think that would we would have elicited a different response other than, oh, we should just support them? So you really have to think about it, right? Drug overdose kills more people in the United States than gun violence and car accidents combined right now. And our response is we should just support them and continue to let them use safely? Are we going to do the same thing with guns? We're going to continue to support you and just give you a gun safety class, but you go ahead and keep your guns. And the reason I say that is because the very same people that are advocating the radical harm reductionists that are actually advocating for safe supply and drug legalization and more harm reduction services would also very happily at any moment repeal the Second Amendment in this country and ban guns completely and bring us prohibition on guns completely. The hypocrisy has to be pointed out, especially when drugs are killing way more people than guns are in this country. Period.
Yeah.
I have to say it.
No, this is real talk, and that's the whole point of the show, is getting this information out there, which, by the way, if you're watching or listening to this episode, if you're enjoying it, please subscribe to the channel and like the video and share it to people that you feel are going to get a lot of value from this.